Hello, hello, hello. Oh, welcome in. How is everyone doing tonight? Hello, hello. Hello, Shirley. Hey, Julie. Hey, X. Hello, hello. Hello, Mary. Hello, Rose. Hello, hello. Tonight is Cherry Hill. I've been writing all day. All day. No lie. Go sit in your chair. Doom. I love this music. Hey, Kelly. Hello there, my little familiar. Doom. Come here. There you are. Hey, beautiful. Hello, Tara. Hello, Andrew. Hello over there on the white channel. Ooh, YouTube looks good tonight. I've been working on adjusting all weekend, adjusting angles. I can see everything in it. Good. Can everyone hear me? Hello, 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 everyone. Sound good? Okay, perfect. It's been a good weekend. I feel relaxed. I feel ready to go. I've been writing Cherry Hill. I'm very happy with the progression. I had my first cup of hot chocolate this weekend for the season, and then I tried pumpkin spice coffee for the first time, and I loved it. Hello, hello, hello. I figured put in some Scottish music because Cherry Hill is Scottish. Don't forget to sing your dailies, please. share the live? 5 friends, 10 friends, 15 friends. Let's get it shared. Hello, Amber Robinson. How are you? Hello, Mystic. How are you? Welcome in. Do you have a friend that likes scary stories? Tell them about us. Hello, Des. Thank you for the repost. Isn't it awesome, X? I absolutely love it. I'm going to always try to choose music now based on what the story is going to be. That's all right, Mary. Thank you for sharing the live. Thank you so, so much. Super chat is on. Hello there, Carolina. Hello, Benita Mitchell. Oh, I love the whale. Thank you, X. Hello, Mia. Howdy, howdy. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Hello, Cherry. Hello, Mystic. Thank you so much for becoming a super fan. I've got to get a bell. I used to have one, but now I don't know where it is. So good to see you in here tonight. Hello, hello. Oh, I'm so glad, Mystic. So glad. Have you heard Cherry Hill? Hello, Pastelina. How are you? Hello, GMA Tiff. How are you doing tonight? Hello, David, and thank you for the repost. It is Mystic, yes. One of many. Did y'all know that I started thinking about my next book today? Well, no, Saturday I started thinking about it. Oh, it's gonna be good. I am good, Pink. How are you? I am doing good. How was your weekend? Someone told me that you like Christmas. Hello, Leslie Marie. How are you? Mickey Mouse, welcome in. So, what was I gonna ask? What was I gonna say? It will come back to me if it's important. Oh, how was everyone's Halloween? Did you get lots of candy? I do too. Eight minutes. Let's get someone new in here. Someone that has never heard of Twisted Tales Live. Let them know that there is a story about to be told. Good. I stuffed myself with pizza, Reese's, and Twix. Lots of them. I woke up Saturday morning and I was just like, well, that was fun. Hey, Jim Rocks, how are you doing? Thank you for the heartbeat. I love that idea. That's hello, hello. Hey, Melanie. Hey, Lily. Four minutes. Be safe. Pollywog, thank you for the follow. Pollywog, do you like scary stories? Fiddlesticks, I've got to do cameo. What will happen in Cherry Hill tonight, I wonder? Hello, Beach Nut. How are you? Hello, Lily. Welcome in. Music good? Thank you for the FYF. Much appreciated. Hey, Nana Sherry. Tonight is your night, friends. Tonight is your night. Your chat, your live. One minute. Hey, Turtle Girl. Welcome in. Someone let me know how the music is, if you would. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Music is perfect. Thank you. Welcome to Twisted Tales Live. I am your host, Bryn Morgan. I am a horror author. I am also a teller of scary stories. Do you like scary stories? Tonight is one of my favorites, Appalachian horror. When I first started writing Cherry Hill, I had no idea that it was going to turn into Appalachian horror, to be honest with you. I knew that there was going to be witches and magic, and I knew that it was going to take place in the mountains of North Carolina, but other than that, that was it. Cherry Hill has grown into its own monster. Tonight, the story deepens. You've been following the story of Maggie Drake, who had everything ripped away from her, viciously attacked, intended to be unalived, her husband cheating on her and then leaving her, taking her daughter from her, losing almost her book deal, and then her house burning down. She went to Cherry Hill, not exactly knowing what she was looking for, but found out that not only on top of everything else, she found out that she was adopted, that she was not the daughter of Louise and Henry at all, but that she was adopted and the birth daughter of Aileen McLeod. Tonight we take up with Cherry Hill. But first, let's go into story time properly, shall we? Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle to chase those shadows away. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in the warmest blanket that you can find to shut off the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. The drive to Charlotte started before dawn. Maggie had barely slept after the dreams, after waking at 3:47 a.m. with the medallion glowing against her chest, and the memory of that cloaked figure burned into her mind. She'd lain awake until her alarm went off at 5. Doom pressed warm against her side, trying to quiet the chaos that was in her head. Now, as the Bronco ate up the miles of highway, the sun was just beginning to rise behind her, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. She should have been thinking about the hearing, should have been rehearsing what she'd say, mentally preparing for James' attacks that she knew was coming. Instead, her mind was a battlefield. Her hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. The navy dress she'd chosen felt too tight, too formal. She should have went for the pantsuit. It was more professional, more put together. Everything that she didn't feel right now. What am I doing? The question had been circling in her mind since she climbed into the Bronco and pulled away from Cherry Hill House. Since she'd left Doom meowing plaintively at the door, his orange eyes watching her go. She was driving to Charlotte to fight for Curly. That should be the only thing that mattered. Her daughter, her baby girl, the child that James had systematically turned against her over the past months, poisoning her mind with lies about her mother, whom he said was unstable, who'd fallen apart after the attack. Maggie's throat tightened. She looked out the window as Interstate 85 sped past. God, she missed Curly, missed her laugh, the way she'd crawl into Maggie's lap and demand her fairy tale story. The feel of Curly's small arms around her neck. James had taken that from her, had used Maggie's trauma, her panic attacks, her inability to cope, had used all of it as ammunition to paint her as unfit. Maybe she was. Maybe James was right. No. No, she shook her head sharply. That's exactly what he wanted her to think. But the doubt crept in anyway, insidious and familiar. What kind of mother could even be there? Couldn't even be there for her own child. What kind of mother had been so broken by what happened that her daughter was afraid of her? The miles blurred past. Mountains gave way to rolling hills, then flatter terrain as she got closer to Charlotte. Very familiar territory. This had been her home for years with James and Curly. The life she'd built with James, the career she'd had as a journalist, an author, the biggest house in a posh neighborhood. All of it was gone now. Burned, literally burned to the ground. She thought about the threatening messages that she had been receiving. The burner phone that Graham claimed it probably was. The man who had attacked her climbed into her car at the Sonic when all she wanted was a cherry limeade. He was still out there, somewhere, watching, waiting, taking pictures of Curly on the playground, threatening Maggie. Her hands tightened on the wheel. Maggie, you need to focus. Focus on today, one thing at a time. Focus on Curly. That's all that matters. Focus on Curly. But her mind wouldn't settle. Because underneath of all of it, the custody hearing, James, Curly, the attack, there was something else. Something darker. Something she didn't understand and couldn't control. Kenna. Her birth name. Spoken by a man that shouldn't have known it. Graham with his blue-green eyes and that devastating Scottish accent. Whispering it in her ear while they made love. How? How had he known? How had she known Connor's name? The medallion lay warm against her chest, tucked beneath her gray dress and jacket. It had stopped glowing hours ago, but she could still feel it, present, aware, pulsing faintly with her heartbeat. What was happening to her? That was her question. What was happening to her? She thought about the circle, Chloe with her amber-lit shop and her warnings about darkness, the 3 dark witches who threatened her that night, their eyes promising violence, the Black Pass calling to her, children's voices in her dreams crying out for help. Kenna, help us. Kenna, please. And that figure from last night, standing in the rain and the lightning and the thunder, fully covered in a black robe, a cloak over his head. She couldn't see him, but she knew he was a man, a big man. His face hidden in shadow, watching her window, watching her. She tried to remember Graham's build. He was a big man. But surely Graham was not the one standing out in the storm, watching her. Was he? She tried to think of any other men that she came in contact with. Angus Sinclair, the sheriff. She was driving herself mad. She tried to tell herself as she pulled into the Charlotte courthouse parking lot that it was her imagination, the stress, the dreams, the exhaustion. But she knew what she'd seen. Something was coming. Something dark and old and hungry. And it knew her true name. Maggie's phone buzzed in the cup holder. She glanced down. It was from Graham. Thinking of you. You've got this. Her chest tightened. Graham. My God. Graham. Yesterday at the Black Veil flashed through her mind. His hands on her body. His mouth claiming hers. The way he carried her into that bathroom and made her feel more wanted than she'd ever felt in her life. That was me claiming you. That slight smile, the certainty in his voice. No man, not James, not her college boyfriend, not her high school boyfriends, no one, no man had ever made her feel like that. Like she was his, and he wasn't apologizing for it. Like he'd fight the world to keep her. That would not be him beneath that robe. That would not be him beneath that cloak. But how could she trust that? How could she trust anything when she didn't even trust herself anymore? She was changing. She could feel it like a rash under her skin. She was becoming something. And she didn't know if it was good or dark or somewhere in between. Another buzz. It was from Inez. Almost to the courthouse. Got his coffee. You ready to kick James' ass? Despite everything, Maggie felt a small smile tug at her lips. Inez. Thank God for Inez. She typed back quickly. Almost there. Thank you for being here. Inez typed back. Always, girl. Always. The Charlotte skyline appeared on the horizon, glass and still, catching the morning sun. Maggie's stomach clenched. This was it. In less than an hour, she'd be sitting across from James in that courtroom. He'd look at her with those cold eyes of his, the eyes that had once looked at her with love, or what she thought was love. Maybe it never was. Now they just held contempt and disgust. She knew what she was up against. James would make her out to be crazy, unstable, unfit to be Curly's mother. And maybe he'd be right. Because how could she explain what was happening to her? How could she tell a judge that she was hearing voices, that a medallion glowed against her chest? Oh yes, I'm sorry. The reason that I haven't been around my daughter is because I'm hearing voices call me Kenna, and I went out to a tree and I saw hundreds of names on this massive oak, and there's this medallion that glows on my chest. That something in an ancient mountain range was calling her by a name that no one should know. They'd think she was insane. Who knows? Maybe she was. Maggie took the exit for downtown Charlotte, following the familiar streets toward the courthouse. Her heart was racing now, palms sweating despite the cold morning air. You can do this. You can do this, Maggie. She looked at herself in the rearview mirror. For Curly, you can do this. You've got to do this. But as she pulled into the parking garage, found a spot, and turned off the engine, she sat there for a moment in the sudden silence. She was about to face James, about to fight for her daughter, about to walk into a courtroom and defend herself against accusations she wasn't sure that she could refute. James had hired only the best divorce attorney, and she had hired one. She didn't know how good she was. She didn't have a lot of money. And tonight she'd drive back to Cherry Hill, back to that white farmhouse with the wraparound porch, back to Dune and the medallion and the darkness pressing in from all sides. Back to Graham, who wanted her despite everything. Back to whatever she was becoming. Maggie took a deep breath, checked her makeup in the rearview mirror, and grabbed her purse. One thing at a time. Just get through today. She climbed out of the Bronco and walked toward the courthouse, the morning sun warm on her face, the weight of everything she was carrying heavy on her shoulders. Somewhere ahead, Inez was waiting, and somewhere behind her, in the dark black pass of North Carolina, something dark was watching, waiting for her to come home. Maggie saw her before she'd even reached the courthouse steps. Inez Maxwell stood near the entrance, impossible to miss. She could have been a model, tall and commanding in a way that made people instinctively move around her. She wore a charcoal gray suit that was tailored to perfection, the jacket nipped at her tiny waist, the pants falling in a clean line to her heels. A burgundy silk blouse underneath added a pop of color that complemented her deep brown skin beautifully. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant twist, pulled back from her face, and even from a distance, Maggie could see the glint of gold at her ears and wrist, subtle but expensive. She looked every inch the successful corporate attorney in Charleston, South Carolina. Powerful, beautiful, put together in a way that made Maggie suddenly feel rumpled and uncertain despite her careful preparation this morning. Then Inez spotted her, and her whole face lit up. "You are not the one that pulled up in that old ugly Bronco, are you?" "Mags!" She closed the distance between them in 3 strides, heels clicking on the concrete, and pulled Maggie into the most fierce hug. Her arms were strong from working out, her embrace solid and real and exactly what Maggie needed. "Yes, that's my old ugly clump of junk." Maggie clung to her, pressing her face into Inez's shoulder, and felt something inside her crack open, just a little, just enough to remind her that she wasn't completely alone. "Where is your other vehicle?" "It's back in Cherry Hill." "Oh, thank goodness." "Ugh, that thing is ugly. Anyway, I got you, girl," Inez murmured against her hair. "I've got you." They stood like that for a long moment, Maggie drawing strength from her best friend. They had known each other for 15 years, had went to the College of Charleston together. She made her feel grounded by her presence in a way she hadn't felt since leaving Cherry Hill. When they finally pulled apart, Inez kept one hand on Maggie's arm, studying her face with those sharp, attorney assessing eyes that missed nothing. "Come on, let's get you inside and out of this chill." She steered Maggie toward the entrance, grabbing a paper coffee cup from where she'd set it on the low wall. "I remember. Here, you got a latte, 2 pumps of vanilla, whole milk, extra hot, just the way you like it." "Thanks." The fact that Inez remembered her exact coffee order after everything made Maggie's throat tighten. "Thank you. James didn't even know how I like my coffee. Don't thank me yet. Save it for after we hand James his ass on a platter. Inez's smile was sharp and full of promise. They moved into the courthouse lobby, and the warmth immediately started chasing away the morning chill. Maggie wrapped her hands around the coffee cup, letting the heat seep into her palms. I can't believe you're really here, Maggie said quietly. I know how busy you are. Stop. Inez turned to face her fully, her expression serious. You're my girl. You think I was going to let you do this alone? Not a chance. She squeezed Maggie's arm. Besides, I've had my bag packed in my car since yesterday. Soon as this hearing is over, I'm following you back up to Cherry Hill. I'm going to spend a few days with you. See this mysterious mountain town you've been living in. Something warm bloomed in Maggie's chest. Gratitude, relief, affection all mixed together. You don't say that again, Mags. I want to. Inez's voice softened. I miss you, Mags, and honestly, she tilted her head slightly. That assessing look was back. I'm worried about you. You sounded different on the phone, and I wanted to see for myself that you're okay. Maggie took a sip of her latte, buying herself a moment. Different. That was one way to put it. Cherry Hill is... She trailed off, unsure how to explain. It's complicated. Everything is complicated with you, lady, lately, Inez said, but there was no judgment in her tone, just concern, which is why I'm not letting you go back there alone. You're stuck with me for a few days, whether you like it or not. Hell, I could take 3 weeks off or a month if I wanted. I've got so much sick hours accumulated. Despite everything, the hearing looming, the fear gnawing at her, the supernatural chaos her life had become, Maggie felt herself smile, a real smile for the second time that day. Inez was exactly what the doctor ordered. I like it, she said softly. I really do. Thank you, Nez. That's what I'm here for. Inez checked her watch, an elegant gold, probably worth more than Maggie's Bronco, and her expression shifted to business mode. All right, Maggie, look at me. We've got about 20 minutes before we need to head to the courtroom. Are you ready to go over the game plan? Maggie's stomach clenched, but she nodded. Yeah, I'm ready. Good. Inez guided her toward a quiet corner of the lobby, away from the other people milling about. Now listen to me. James is going to try to rattle you. That's his whole strategy. He hired a divorce attorney that is the best in Charlotte. Okay? And that guy is a snake. I have heard about run-ins with him. He's going to make you look unstable. He's going to make you look emotional. He's going to make you look unfit. He's going to bring up the attack, the panic attacks, probably the fact that you moved to some tiny mountain town in the middle of nowhere. I know, Maggie said, her hands tightening on the coffee cup. But here's what you need to remember, Mags. Inez's voice was firm and commanding. It was her courtroom voice. You are Curly's mother. You love that little girl more than anything in this world. And whatever they may say about you in that room, don't believe it. You have been through hell. Yes, you have. And you're still going through it. But you're standing. You're still fighting. And that shows strength, not weakness. So whatever that little weasel levels at you when we get in there, don't listen to him. She placed both hands on Maggie's shoulders, forcing her to meet her eyes. You're going to walk into that courtroom with your head held high. You're going to answer every question honestly and calmly. And you do not let James see you break. Do you understand? Maggie took a deep breath, drawing on Inez's certainty like a lifeline. I understand. That's my girl. Inez squeezed her shoulders once more, then released her. Oh, I'm excited. Now finish that coffee. You're going to need the caffeine. Are you like this on every court case? Pretty much. They stood there in the courthouse lobby, Maggie sipping her perfectly made latte while Inez ran through potential questions and how to answer them. People flowed around them, lawyers, clients, families heading to their own hearings, but Maggie barely noticed. All she could focus on was Inez's voice, strong, steady, and sure. And for just a moment, standing there with her best friend beside her, Maggie felt like maybe, just maybe, she could actually do this. She could face James. She could fight for Curly. She could get through today. And then tonight, Inez would follow her back to Cherry Hill, back to all the questions and the darkness and the things that Maggie didn't understand. But at least she wouldn't be facing it alone. Not anymore. They were headed toward the courtroom when Maggie heard it. Mommy! The voice stopped her heart. She spun around just as Curly came bounding toward her down the main corridor. Red curls bouncing with each running step. 6 years old and so beautiful, it hurt to look at her. Those green eyes, Maggie's eyes bright and full of joy. Her daughter, her life, her everything. Maggie dropped to a squat, arms opening wide, and Curly flew into them with the force of a small hurricane. Mommy! 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 Curly's arms wrapped tight around Maggie's neck. Her little body pressed close, and Maggie felt the tears come immediately, hot and unstoppable. She heard Inez's voice in her mind. Don't let him see you break. Baby, Maggie choked out, holding her daughter like she might disappear. Oh, baby, I missed you so much. I missed you too, Mommy. Curly's voice was muffled against Maggie's shoulder. I missed you every day. Maggie could feel her own tears soaking into Curly's jacket. She buried her face in those red curls, so like her own, and breathed in the scent of her daughter, strawberry shampoo, and something that was uniquely Curly. I love you so much. Do you understand me? I love you so much, Maggie whispered fiercely. I love you so much. How much? Bigger than the universe. It was a game that they played. I love you too, Mommy. How much? More than the ocean. For just a moment, the world was perfect. For just a moment, nothing else mattered. Then she heard it. Hello, Maggie. The voice was cold, familiar, like ice water down her spine. Maggie froze, her arms circled around Curly and slowly lifted her head. She prayed no tears were on her cheeks. James stood 10 feet away, looking at her with those eyes she'd once thought were kind and compassionate. Now they held nothing but contempt. He was dressed in an expensive suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, his dark hair styled just so. Handsome in that polished corporate way. The face that had smiled at her on their wedding day. The face that had smiled at her when she brought Curly into the world. The face that had twisted with disgust after the attack. Beside him stood his girlfriend, the woman he'd been sleeping with for the last 6 months of their marriage. Blonde, thin, wearing a dress that was just a touch too tight. She had her hand possessively on James' arm and a smug smile on her glossy lips. And next to them was James' attorney, a weasel of a man in his late 60s with thinning hair slicked back, sharp features that reminded Maggie of a rat, and small eyes that darted around constantly. He held a leather briefcase in one hand, and when he saw Maggie looking, he smiled. A slow, calculating smile that didn't reach his eyes. The smile of a predator who knew he had the upper hand. James bent down. Come on, Curly. We gotta go in the courtroom. I don't want to leave, Mommy. I said, come on. James reached over and grabbed Curly from Maggie's embrace. I want Mommy. I don't want you. I want Mommy. Well, then your mommy should have thought about that before she hightailed it up to North Carolina. James' gaze shifted past Maggie and his mouth curved into a smirk. I see you brought reinforcements today. The words were snarky and dismissive, designed to belittle. Maggie felt Inez step closer beside her, a solid presence at her back. Why, James Drake, Inez said coolly, professional, giving nothing away. It's been a while. You've changed. James' smirk widened. Then he looked back down at Maggie, still kneeling on the floor. Curly reached out for Maggie again. I want Mommy! Maggie's heart cracked. It's okay, baby. I want to stay with you, Mommy. Will you take me up to North Carolina? James' expression hardened, and Maggie instinctively tried to reach out for Curly. Let me just hold her one more time. But he wouldn't do it. James, don't. You're making her sad. He was holding her away from Maggie, as far away from her as he could, even as the little girl reached out, tears streaming down her face. Mommy! Maggie stood on shaky legs, her arms still outstretched, her whole body aching to take her daughter back. And she thought to herself, I hate you. I hate you for what you're doing. James shifted Curly to his hip. She was still crying, still reaching for Maggie, and looked down at her with cold satisfaction. Again, this is all your mama's fault, Curly. She should have thought about that before gallivanting up to North Carolina and leaving you behind. The words hit like a sharp slap, cruel, calculated, meant to wound. The retort was immediate, hot in Maggie's throat. You turned her against me. You took her from me. You destroyed everything that we had. But before she could open up her mouth, she felt a hand on her arm, firm, steady, and grounding. It was Inez. Don't, Maggie. Save it for the courtroom. Inez, her rock, the one thing keeping her from flying apart, the one thing keeping her from going for James' eyes. Maggie bit down on the words, swallowing them back. Her jaw clenched so tight it ached. James' attorney stepped forward, that scary smile still plastered on his rat face. We should be heading in, Mr. Drake. The judge will be ready soon. Indeed. James adjusted Curly on his hip again. The little girl had stopped struggling, but was still crying quietly. Her face pressed into James' shoulder, even as she kept her eyes on Maggie. I guess we'll see you in there. His girlfriend let out another soft chuckle, high and grating, and Maggie felt her hands ball into fist. Inez's grip on her arm tightened, a warning, a reminder. I told you, don't give him the satisfaction. Don't break. That's what he wants. I hate him. I hope he dies. Maggie's voice was different. So different that Inez was taken aback. James turned and walked away, carrying Curly with him. The attorney and girlfriend followed like sharks, scenting blood. Mommy! Curly's voice echoed down the hallway, getting fainter. Mommy, I love you! I love you too, baby, Maggie called after her, her voice breaking. I love you so much. And then they were gone, disappearing into the courtroom, and Maggie stood there in the hallway with her arms still outstretched, tears streaming down her beautiful face, her whole body trembling. Breathe, Inez said quietly beside her, raising her hands. Breathe and let it out. 3 times. Come on. Breathe. Out. Maggie trembled as she tried to do it. Just breathe, Mags. But Maggie couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All she could see was Curly's face. All she could hear was her daughter crying for her. He's a bastard, Inez said, her voice low and fierce. A complete and utter bastard. But you cannot let him see you like this. Do you hear me, Maggie? You cannot give him that power. Maggie pressed her face to her hands, trying to hold herself together. The medallion was warm against her chest, hot, almost burning, and she could feel something dark rising in her. Anger, rage, something more primal than either, something that made her go blind almost with it. I'm going to kill him, she whispered. Maggie, I know you're mad. Inez's hand was still on her arm, anchoring her. But you're not going to. You're going to walk into that courtroom and you're going to show that judge who you really are. A good mother who loves her daughter. And damn it, you're going to win. Maggie lowered her hands, looking at her best friend through tear-blurred eyes. What if I don't? What if I lose her? You will. Inez's voice was absolute certainty. I'm not going to let you lose her, Mags. I promise you that. They stood there for another moment, Maggie pulling herself together piece by piece, using Inez's strength to shore up her own. Then finally she straightened, wiped her eyes, and took a deep breath. Okay, she said. Her voice was steadier now. Okay, I'm ready. That's my girl. Inez squeezed her arm once more. Let's go show them what you're made of. Together they walked toward the courtroom, toward James and his smug attorney and his girlfriend, toward the judge who would decide Curly's fate. And Maggie sent up a silent prayer to whoever was listening, to Aileen McLeod, to whatever power lived in that medallion, to anything that might help her, that she would walk out of there with the right to see her daughter again. That she wouldn't lose Curly forever. Because if she did, Maggie wasn't sure what would be left of her, or what the darkness inside her might become. The hearing was brutal. Maggie sat at a table beside her own attorney, a competent woman named Patricia Chin, who specialized in family law. She wasn't expensive as James' attorney was, but with Inez sitting directly behind her, she felt like she had people that were behind her. She could feel her best friend's presence like a shield at her back. Across the aisle, James sat with his rat-faced attorney, looking confident, smug, like he'd already won. The judge was a woman in her 60s, Judge Margaret Holloway, with still gray hair pulled back in a severe bun and sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. She'd been through the preliminary statements, and now James' attorney was presenting their case. And he was ruthless. Your Honor, the facts speak for themselves, the attorney said, pacing before the bench with that way of tucking his arms together like a weapon. Miss Drake, excuse me, she's not married to my client anymore. Miss Drake suffered a traumatic attack over a year ago. Now, we don't dispute that. The poor lady's been through a lot. What we do dispute is her fitness to parent following that attack. Maggie's hands clenched in her lap. Following the incident, Miss Drake experienced severe PTSD. panic attacks, and depression. She was unable to care for herself, let alone her 6-year-old child. Our client, Mr. Drake, took on the full burden of parenting during this time, while simultaneously trying to support his wife through her recovery. He's been through it. The words twisted the truth just enough to make James look like the saint. But it didn't stop there, the attorney continued. Miss Drake's mental state continued to deteriorate. She became withdrawn, isolated herself from her daughter, forgot to pick her up from school 3 times, not once, not twice, 3. The child, Curly, began to experience anxiety because of her mother's unpredictable behavior. That's not... Maggie started, but Patricia's hand on her arm stopped her. The attorney smiled that sinister smile again. And then, Your Honor, approximately 3 months ago, Miss Drake made the decision to move literally overnight. Not to another neighborhood in Charlotte, not even to another city nearby. No, she moved to a remote mountain town called Cherry Hill. I looked it up. It's hardly on the map. Hours away from her daughter. He let that sink in, pacing again. I'm not sure if you heard me, Your Honor, but she left her... I heard you. She left her child behind, Your Honor, abandoned her to pursue what exactly? From what I understand, she found out that she's adopted. So she went up there because of a house or something. That little girl has lain in her bed and cried for her mama every night. She has asked Mr. Drake, Daddy, why doesn't Mama want to be with me anymore? Maggie felt tears burning behind her eyes. That wasn't how it happened. That wasn't. Furthermore, the attorney continued, pulling out documents from his briefcase. We have evidence that Miss Drake's home in Charlotte, the family home, was destroyed in a fire under suspicious circumstances. We have evidence of threatening messages sent to her phone from an unknown number. We have statements from Miss Drake herself believing that she believes the man who attacked her is stalking her. How in the hell did he know? He placed the documents on the judge's bench. He did his research, Maggie. I told you, everything is a matter of public record. Your Honor, Miss Drake is a good woman, but she's not stable right now. She cannot provide a safe home for her daughter, and most importantly, she is not capable of providing a secure, nourishing environment for Curly Drake. Mr. Drake is asking for full custody, not out of spite, but out of genuine concern for his daughter's well-being. He sat down, and James reached over to shake his hand, smacking him on the back. Congratulating him on a job well done. Maggie felt like she'd been eviscerated. Patricia stood to present their side, and she did her best. She talked about Maggie's successful career as a journalist, an author, her dedication to her daughter before the attack, the fact that Cherry Hill was where her birth family was from, but she was trying to understand her roots, that the threatening messages proved she was a victim, that she was not unstable. But even as Patricia spoke, Maggie could see it wasn't enough. She could see the judge's expression, sympathetic but skeptical. When Patricia sat down, Judge Holloway began reviewing the documents before her. The courtroom was silent except for the rustle of paper. Then, from behind Maggie, a voice spoke up. Your Honor, If I may. Everyone turned. Inez stood tall and commanding in her tailored suit. The judge looked up, one eyebrow raised. And you are? I am Inez Maxwell, Your Honor. I'm an attorney with Morrison and Associates in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm not representing Miss Drake in a legal capacity today, but I am her closest friend. We've known each other since college. She paused. I'm asking permission to speak to Miss Drake's character, if the court will allow it. Judge Holloway studied her for a long moment. The attorney for James shrieked, I don't think that it... I'll allow it. Please approach. Inez walked forward with the confidence of someone who owned every courtroom she walked into. She didn't need notes, didn't need to prepare. She just spoke from her heart. Your Honor, I've known Maggie Drake for over 15 years. I was at her wedding. I was there when Curly was born. I'm Curly's godmother, and I was there the night that she was attacked. Her voice was steady and strong. What happened to my friend was devastating. And I'll be really honest with you, it would have broken most people. But Maggie didn't break. She survived. And even if you were not to give her any custody today, she would still survive. She struggled. She had panic attacks. She had nightmares. She couldn't always be the mother that she wanted to be. Inez's gaze didn't waver from the judge, but she never stopped loving that little girl. No one loves Curly more than Maggie Drake does. No more than that woman sitting right there in that seat. She never stopped fighting to get better so she could be here for her daughter. James shifted in his seat, his smugness faltering slightly. Mr. Drake's attorney would have you believe that Maggie abandoned her child. That is not true. She felt that Curly would be the safest with him. She gave her up for that reason, because she was getting the threatening messages and the pictures. Maggie moved to Cherry Hill to find out answers about where she came from, to understand her identity. And yes, it has not only been hard on Maggie, it's been hard on Curly. But Maggie called her every day. She tried to visit Mr. Drake, and he has made it increasingly difficult for her. He didn't even want her to go and visit her own mother when she had a heart attack. Well, now hold on. You know it's true. She let that land. Maggie Drake is not unstable, Your Honor. She's a woman who has been through hell, and she's doing her best to rebuild her life. She loves her daughter more than anything in this world, and she deserves the chance to be in Curly's life. Inez stepped back, and the courtroom was silent. Judge Holloway looked at Maggie for a long moment, and then at James, and then back at her notes, and finally she spoke. I've reviewed all the evidence presented here today, as well as the statements from both parties. Her voice was measured, judicial. Mr. Drake, I'm granting you temporary full custody of Curly Drake. James' face lit up. His attorney clapped him on the shoulder. Behind him, his girlfriend smiled triumphantly. There you go, baby. Maggie felt the world tilt. No, this couldn't. And then the judge cleared her throat. She wasn't finished. She turned to look directly at Maggie, and her expression softened just slightly. Probably the most that her face ever slightened. Miss Drake, I want you to be very clear about something. I don't think that you're a bad mother. I do think that you are a mother who has experienced a significant trauma and has been struggling to recover. Those are not the same thing. Maggie's breath caught. The evidence shows that you love your daughter. I happened to be walking in when I saw you embracing her in the hall. So, thank you, ma'am, for speaking up to Maggie's character, but I saw the display. It also shows that you made some questionable decisions while dealing with your trauma, which I can't say that I wouldn't do the same myself. Moving away from your child, even for understandable reasons, has probably had an impact on her sense of security. Therefore, I'm granting you visitation rights every other weekend, starting this coming weekend. Curly will spend Friday evening through Sunday evening with you. Additionally, you'll have alternating holidays in 2 weeks during the summer. Something like hope flickered in Maggie's chest. It was small, but it was real. Furthermore, Judge Holloway continued, I'm scheduling a review hearing in 6 months. At that time, we will reassess the custody arrangement based on your continued stability, your living situation, and your daughter's adjustment. If you can demonstrate to me that you've addressed the concerns raised here today, we can discuss expanding your custody rights. She looked between them both. So, Mr. Drake, this is not a permanent decision. This is temporary custody with the understanding that circumstances can change. And Mr. Drake, I believe that you have put your ex-wife through hell. Ms. Drake, you have the opportunity to prove that you can provide a stable, safe home for your daughter. And Mr. Drake, I am only granting you custody rights for the sake of your daughter, Curly Drake. I suggest that both of you take an opportunity to think about it seriously and come to an amicable place in your relationship so that your daughter doesn't suffer anymore. The gavel came down. Court is adjourned. Maggie sat frozen, trying to process what had just happened. Inez was smiling. She hadn't lost completely. She had every other weekend with her, at least. She had 6 months to prove herself. She had hope. But James had won temporary custody. He'd get to control where Curly lived, where she went to school, who she spent time with. Across the aisle, James stood, shaking his attorney's hand, accepting congratulations like he just won a major victory, which in a way he had. And when Maggie heard that weasel of an attorney tell James, we'll get full custody for her, you just wait and see. Maggie wanted to crush him. But then he looked at Maggie and she saw something flicker in his eyes. Not quite the total victory he'd wanted, because the judge had said she wasn't a bad mother, had given her a path back to her daughter. He'd expected to win everything, to take Curly away completely. This wasn't that. Patricia was talking to her, explaining what the ruling meant, what the visitation schedule would look like, but Maggie could barely hear her over the roaring in her ears. Then Inez was there, hands on her shoulders, turning her around. You did it, Inez said firmly. Do you hear me? You did it. You get to see her every other weekend. I still lost custody of her. Temporary custody, Inez corrected, which means it can change, and not only that, but it will change. And it's going to change. The judge gave you 6 months to prove it yourself. That's a gift, Mags. That's your chance. Maggie looked into her best friend's eyes and saw the certainty there. And since you get Curly this weekend and every other weekend, and in 6 months you go back and you show them that you're stable, you're strong, you're going to get custody of her, and you're exactly the mother that Curly needs. Slowly, Maggie nodded. The tears came then, not tears of despair, but of exhausted relief. It wasn't everything that she wanted, but it was something. It was hope, and right now, hope was enough. Across the room, James was leaving with his attorney and girlfriend holding Curly. And Maggie could hear Curly's voice asking, "Can I say bye to Mommy?" The sound made her heart lurch. "Yeah, go." Curly ran to Maggie, and Maggie enveloped her in her arms. "Listen to me, baby girl. I'm going to see you this weekend, and we're going to go have ice cream and pizza, and I'm going to show you this beautiful new town that I live in." "Mommy?" "Yes." "Are you okay?" Curly looked at her with the biggest green eyes. "I'm okay. I'm okay now. Come here. Give me a hug." Curly hugged her tightly. "I love you more than the universe." "I love you more than the ocean." "Okay, go back to your dad." "Come on," Inez said gently, helping her stand. "Let's get out of here. I want to see Cherry Hill." Maggie took a shaky breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked out of the courtroom with Inez at her side. They hadn't lost, not completely, and she wasn't going to give up. She would get Curly back in 6 months. They stood in the courthouse parking garage, and Inez pulled out her phone, already making arrangements. "I'm going to leave my car here," she announced, scrolling through a parking app. "There's extended parking. I'll just pay for the week and ride up with you." "You're going to stay with me for a week? Is that a problem?" "Inez, you don't have to." "Girl, I'm not following you in a separate car for 3 hours. We're riding together. I want to talk to you, and I can't do that if I'm behind you the whole way." She tapped a few buttons on her phone. "There. Done. Let's go." Maggie couldn't help but smile. This was so Inez. Decisive, efficient, making things happen. They climbed into Maggie's Bronco, and soon they were leaving Charlotte behind, heading north toward the mountains. The city gave way to suburbs, then to rolling hills, and finally to the winding roads that would take them into the highlands of North Carolina. For the first 20 minutes, they drove in comfortable silence. Maggie was still processing everything: the hearing, James' cruelty, the judge's merciful ruling, every other weekend, 6 months to prove herself. But then she felt Inez looking at her. "What?" Maggie asked, glancing over. Inez was studying her with that intense, assessing look that she got sometimes. Maggie didn't like it. The one that said she was reading something most people couldn't see. "There's definitely something different about you, Max," Inez said finally. Maggie's hand tightened on the steering wheel. "Different how?" "I don't know. I can't explain it. It's like there's something more to you now. Something I can't quite put my finger on." The medallion lay warm against Maggie's chest, hidden beneath her dress and jacket. She could feel it pulsing faintly as if responding to Inez's words. "It's probably just everything I've been through," Maggie said carefully. "The attack, the divorce, moving. Maybe." But Inez didn't sound convinced. She was quiet for another moment, then shifted in her seat. "All right, so tell me about Cherry Hill. How things have been going. You told me a lot, but I want to hear it again." "It's complicated. Everything with you is complicated lately." Inez smiled slightly. "Start with the people. You mentioned a few. There's that witch woman, Chloe. Yeah, she's been helpful. She runs a shop in town, sells crystals and herbs and things like that. Mm-hmm. And you went on some kind of an excursion with the sheriff, right? What was his name?" "Dax. You told me about that. Him and his daughter, y'all went on some trail." Maggie nodded, remembering. "Yes, the sheriff had taken her and his daughter Kat on a hike toward the Black Veil, showing her the trail. That was the first time that she saw the signs, the warning signs. That was the first time that she saw the tree. How did that go? Inez asked. It was nice. It was a nice opportunity to see everything. That's not what I'm asking. What? The sheriff. The sheriff. Is he cute? Is he single? Is he. He's the sheriff of the town, and he has a daughter named Kat, and she's about 16, 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there. Um, that's good. Inez was still watching her, still reading her. She propped a leg up on the dashboard. And what about that attorney? The one who helped you with the inheritance paperwork? Seemed like he got a little bit of a rise out of you. The question was casual, too casual, and Maggie felt heat flood her cheeks immediately. She tried to keep her expression neutral, but she could feel the blush creeping up her neck, spreading across her face. The memory of yesterday flashed through her mind. Graham's hands on her body, his mouth on hers, the way he'd swooped her up into his arms as if she were nothing more than a child, took her in that bathroom and made her feel more alive than she'd felt in years. That was me claiming you. That slight smile, those blue-green eyes. Oh my God! Inez's voice was delighted and triumphant. Oh my God, Maggie Drake. It's nothing. That is not nothing. You're blushing like a freaking teenager. Inez twisted in her seat to face her fully. Girl, you better start telling me right now. What happened with that attorney? Inez, don't you Inez me. I know that look. I've known you for 15 years, and I know exactly what that blush means. She was grinning now, all traces of her earlier concern replaced with gleeful curiosity. You slept with him, didn't you? Maggie's blush deepened. It's complicated. It's always complicated with you, but that doesn't matter. Details, Mags. I want details. What's his name? How old is he? Is he hot? Obviously, he's hot if you're blushing like that. Despite everything, the hearing, the stress, the confusion about what's happening to her, Maggie felt a laugh bubble up for the third time today. His name is Graham. Graham Sinclair. Graham Sinclair? Inez repeated, testing the name. Okay. I'm already liking this. Very sexy name. And he's Scottish? Yeah. He's got the accent? Yes. Oh my God, I cannot wait to meet this man. She started fanning herself dramatically. A Scottish attorney with an accent. Girl, I don't blame you one bit. How old is he? I don't know. 40 maybe? Mature. I like it. I've had a few 40-year-olds myself. They definitely know what to do in the bedroom and what and everything. What does he look like? How did this happen? When did this happen? I need the whole story, Maggie Drake, and I need it now. Maggie bit her lip, trying to figure out where to even start. He's 6'4", tall, broad shoulders, strong, not like a gym rat, just naturally powerful. He's got salt and pepper hair and these blue-green eyes that just, she broke off, shaking her head. That just what? That just look at me like, I don't know, like I'm the only person in the world. Inez's expression softened. Oh, honey, I am so happy for you. And he found me, Maggie continued as she drove, the words coming faster now. Remember when I told you that I was going to go to the place called the Black Pass? There's this trail, and I shouldn't have gone alone. You warned me against it. Chloe warned me against it. Graham warned me against it, but I did, and I faced something very scary there. Graham found me. He took me back to his cabin. There was a storm. I stayed the night, and things happened. Inez finished knowingly. Maggie nodded, her hands gripping the steering wheel tighter. Yeah. Once? Twice? I don't know. Multiple times. I don't know what I'm doing, Nez. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I can trust it. Everything in my life is such a mess right now. And he's so certain, so confident. He told me he's falling for me. And I don't know what to do with that. Do you feel the same way? The question hung in the air between them. Maggie thought about Graham's hands on her body, his voice in her ear, the way he'd looked at her yesterday at the Black Veil, that intensity in those eyes, the way he made her feel wanted and desired and safe all at once. I don't know. What if I am? She admitted quietly. That's a good thing, Max. But it terrifies me. Why does it terrify you? Because Maggie struggled to put it into words. You're right, Nez. Something is changing. Something's happening to me and I don't understand it. And what if whatever I'm becoming drives him away? What if I'm not who he thinks I am? What if I am some dark... Inez was quiet for a moment, processing that. When she spoke again, her voice was more serious. Maggie, I think you're changing because you've been through a lot of shit. Girl, you were attacked. You had your book deal almost lost. Speaking of, I got the other 5 chapters. I do expect you to pay me something. And you've just been through so much. Finding out that you're adopted. Yeah, you are changing. You're changing a lot because of what you've been through. I just have so many questions. This medallion, she jerked it out of her dress, and it was glowing. Hearing voices, knowing things that I shouldn't know. And then the darkness that Chloe warned me about. I don't know. The mountains were rising around them now. The road widening higher into the highlands. Cherry Hill was almost there, but Maggie could feel it pulling at her, calling to her. Kenna, come home. Kenna. Maggie? Inez's voice cut through her thoughts. Still with me? Maggie took a deep breath. There are things happening in Cherry Hill, Inez, she said slowly. Things I don't understand, things that don't make sense. Inez's expression shifted, becoming more alert, more concerned. Well, you can tell me all about it when we get there. And as the Bronco climbed higher into the mountains, Maggie began to talk. Let's take a 10-minute intermission. And when I come back, I will continue with Cherry Hill. Hello, Lulu. Hey, Hopi Love. Little Butterfly. Hey, Jess. Hello, Diana. Hello, Michelle. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, guys. Consider sharing with 5 friends, 10 friends, 15 friends. Don't forget to send your daily heart me's. Hey, Tummy 13. Tonight is your night, Grims. Your night. Hey, Pamela. If I missed anyone, please let me know. Oh, hold on 1 second. Yes, I can. Thank you so much. No, that's not what I wanted. Pay no attention to that goal. Pay no attention to that one. Let's see. I like to mix it up and make it look a little different. Let's see. Heart signal. I want to see something pretty. Is there anything different than hearts? I didn't know there was a dinosaur on here. That's interesting. Air dancer. Let's see. Well, I don't see a lot of the hundreds. We'll switch it up. We'll go to this. A little bit of a different look, right? Let's do... There we go. David, thank you. Okay. Live goal reset. Nice. Has it been 10 minutes? I got you, Shirley. I got you. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, thank you. I hope everyone is enjoying tonight's reading. Hey, Lulu. Awesome. You're fine, Pamela. Hello, Lulu. How are you doing, darling? Just let me know when it's go time, because I have everything taken. Phone, iPads, everything for... Thank you, Shirley. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. I'm starving, Inez said, scrolling through apps on her phone. Do they get DoorDash up here? Bud Squad? I highly doubt it. You have no idea how remote this place is going to be, Maggie said as she was driving. What are the food options in Cherry Hill? I am starving. I haven't had anything since yesterday. Please tell me there's more than a gas station. Maggie smiled despite her exhaustion. There's a diner, Betty's Place. It's actually pretty good. Home cooking, huge portions. We could go there tonight if you want. That sounds perfect. I could use some comfort food after today. I tell you the truth. Inez looked up from her phone. I am looking forward to the tour. I want to go to the Black Veil. I want to see those signs. Maggie was quiet. I can't wait to see Cherry Hill House. I bet it's beautiful. And you can introduce me to your cat. What's his name again? Dune. Right, Dune. Inez grinned. And maybe I'll get to meet this handsome, dashing Scottish Graham Sinclair. I need to see this 6'4" Scottish attorney for myself. Inez. What? I'm just saying. If my girl is blushing like that, I need to evaluate whether he's worth it. That's what best friends do. Maggie was about to respond when they crested the hill that overlooked Cherry Hill proper. The town spread out below them, picturesque and quaint, nestled in the valley with the Black Pass rising dark and imposing beyond it. And that's when Maggie's heart sank. No, no, no. Red and blue lights flashed through the streets like a terrible light show. Patrol cars, at least 5 or 6 of them, were pulling out of the police department parking lot, sirens wailing, speeding toward the mountain road that led to the Black Pass. Maggie's hands tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles going white. Whoa, Inez said, leaning forward to look. What in the world? Look at all those patrol cars. What's going on, Mags? Maggie was very quiet. Maggie, it's happened again. Maggie's voice was flat and hollow. Inez turned to look at her. What's happened again? Another one's been taken. The words hung in the air between them, heavy and terrible. Inez stared at her for a long moment, then looked back out at the patrol cars speeding toward the mountains. At the Black Pass looming beyond the town, dark even in the afternoon light, thunder rumbled overhead, constant, never-ending. How do you know that? Inez's voice was careful now. Maggie drove slowly into town, and as they got closer, she could see what she'd known would be there. People standing on the sidewalks, clusters of them outside the shops, outside the diner, outside the grocery store, talking in hushed, frightened voices. Some of the women were crying. Men stood with arms crossed, faces grim. The atmosphere was thick with fear and grief. Because look at all the people standing out on the sidewalk, Maggie said quietly, gesturing. Look at their faces. Another child has been taken. Damn it. She pulled the Bronco to a stop at a red light, and through the open windows she could hear fragments of conversation. I just cannot believe this has happened again. Poor Hendersons. Their little boy, what was he, like 6, 7? That makes 3 this year. Something has to be done. The Black Pass is cursed, and it's just going to keep taking them. It's just going to keep taking them. Inez was staring out the window now, taking in the scene, the fear, the grief, the way people huddled together like they needed the closeness to feel safe. Maggie Drake, her voice was low and serious. Honey, what's going on in this town? Maggie watched another patrol car speed past, lights flashing, heading toward the mountains, toward the Black Pass, toward the place where children disappeared and were never found. That's what I tried to tell you. Children go missing here, she said quietly as she drove toward the foothills. Have been for centuries. They just vanish. And it's usually near the Black Pass, sometimes from their own beds, sometimes from playgrounds or yards, but always the same. No trace, no evidence, just gone. Jesus Christ. Inez's hand came up to her mouth. How many, Maggie? Too many. Maggie's throat was tight. I found a tree out there in that first, in the Black Pass. It has names carved into it, hundreds of names, Inez. It's no telling how far back that it goes, decades, centuries. All children who disappeared from Cherry Hill. The light turned green, and Maggie drove forward, slowly navigating through the clusters of people on the streets. And you mean to tell me that no one... I don't understand. I mean, the police, what do they say? What about the sheriff? Basically, any time that I talk about them, any time that I ask questions, I'm told to shut up. They tell you to shut up, and basically, Maggie's hands were still gripping the wheel too tight. They search, they investigate, but they never find anything. The children are just gone. Inez was quiet for a long moment, processing. When she spoke again, her voice had that edge it got when she was trying to stay calm. And you went out there to this Black Pass. I want to go. I don't know if that's smart, Inez. I had to go out there because the children... Maggie stopped herself. How could she explain? How could she tell Inez that the children called out to her in her dreams, that they knew her name, her true name? Excuse me. I had to see the tree. I had to know. And that's when this Graham found you, when you collapsed. Maggie nodded. They drove past Chloe's shop, Mystic Moon, with its amber-lit windows, and Maggie could see Chloe standing outside talking to a small group of women. The circle, maybe. All of them looked frightened and upset. Chloe's eyes met Maggie's through the windshield. Maggie rolled the window down. Another child. But Chloe didn't respond. And something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, warning. This town, Inez said slowly, still looking around at the grieving people, the patrol cars, the oppressive weight of the Black Pass looming over everything. It's giving me like major creeps, Mag. It's not what I expected. I told you that it wasn't. They drove through downtown Cherry Hill, and everywhere Maggie looked, she saw the same thing. Fear, grief, anger, helplessness, another child gone, another family destroyed, another name that would eventually be carved into the terrible tree The medallion burned hot against Maggie's chest. She could hear it, faint but present, the sound of children crying, calling out, begging for help. Kenna, Kenna, help us! Kenna, please! Maggie, Inez's voice cut through the whispers. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine. But her voice shook. She turned onto the road that would take them up to Cherry Hill House, leaving the town center behind. But she could still see the patrol cars in her rearview mirror, still heading toward the Black Pass, still searching for a child that they would never find. God, this is what you've been living with? Inez said quietly. It wasn't a question. Yes. And this darkness you mentioned, the things you don't understand, it's connected to this, isn't it? To the missing children. Maggie didn't answer right away, couldn't answer because the truth was too big, too impossible, too terrifying. That's what I've been trying to tell you, the nightmares, the kids calling my name. I went to this Chloe, you just saw her back in the town. She invited me to this thing called The Circle. And she called me to this thing called The Circle. And it was terrifying. It was these women. It had to have been at least 100 women. And we were gathered around the spot. Sit. And we were sitting around this spot, and all these women, they started applying paint to their faces, and when the paint was put on mine, it started burning. And what? Yeah, I mean, it was this circle, and the biggest bonfire that I've ever seen. As it was huge, and I don't know. Yes, I think all of this is linked to me somehow. Inez was silent as they climbed higher, the road winding up toward the white farmhouse with the wraparound porch, toward Cherry Hill House, toward home. But when she spoke again, her voice was firm and resolved. I'm sorry that you came here and this happened. Well, it's not just you anymore, Mags. We're gonna figure this out, she said, together. Because I'm not letting you face this alone, Mags. I felt the evil the second we drove toward these mountains. Whatever the hell is happening here, whatever took that child today, we can't just let that go. Maggie looked at her best friend, fierce, loyal, brave, and felt a surge of gratitude so strong it almost broke her. Thank you, she whispered. That's what I'm here for. Inez reached over and squeezed her hand. Now let's get to your house. I want to meet this orange cat and figure out what we're dealing with. I need to talk to Preacher. I'll try to call her tonight. As they pulled up to Cherry Hill House, the sun was beginning to set behind the Black Pass, casting long shadows across the property. Thunder rumbled. The white farmhouse looked both welcoming and ominous in the fading light. And somewhere in those mountains, it was terrifying. Another child had gone missing. Another one lost to the darkness. Another one calling for help that might never come, unless Maggie could find a way to stop it. The moment Maggie opened the front door, Doom was there. The massive orange tabby wound around her ankles, meowing loudly, part greeting, part scolding for being gone so long. His orange eyes were bright and alert, and Maggie could feel the relief flooding through their connection. I'm home, boy, she murmured, bending down to scratch behind his ears. I'm okay. Oh my God, he's gorgeous, Inez exclaimed, immediately crouching down. Look at you. You're not a cat. You're a small tiger. Dune turned his attention to Inez, studying her with those distinctive orange eyes. For a moment, Maggie worried he might hiss. He was so protective of her, so wary of strangers. But then Dune walked over to Inez and butted his head against her hand, purring loudly. Well, hello there, handsome, Inez cooed, running her hand down his back. You are magnificent. And those eyes. Mags, I've never seen orange eyes on a cat before. He's special, Maggie said, feeling warmth bloom in her chest as she watched her familiar accept her best friend. Inez stood looking around the entryway with wide eyes. Maggie, this place is gorgeous. I mean, you described it, but seeing it in person? She moved toward the parlor, taking in the high ceilings, the original hardwood floors, the large windows that let in the fading afternoon light. This is a real farmhouse. How old is this place? Way over 200 years. It was Aileen's, my birth mother's. She lived here her whole life, from what I understand. It's got such character, such history. Do you know how much you would pay in Charleston for something like this? Easily, millions. Inez walked to one of the windows that looked out toward the mountains, and this view. But I do have to say, Maggie, that mountain, there's something very, very bad there. The Black Pass rose in the distance, dark and imposing against the evening sky. The town of Cherry Hill spread out below them in the valley, lights beginning to twinkle as dusk approached. It was breathtaking and ominous all at once. It's beautiful, Inez breathed. Terrifying, but beautiful. And you said it thunders all the time there? Mm-hmm, Maggie said quietly. Inez turned from the window, her expression softening. I can see why you came here, why you wanted to know where you were from. And I can tell you now, Maggie Drake, this place, it's in your blood. Maggie felt her throat tighten. Yeah, I think it is. All right, show me where I'm sleeping. I want to get settled and change out of this suit before we figure out dinner. Maggie led her upstairs, Dune padding along behind them. The second floor had 4 bedrooms, and Maggie had prepared the largest guest room for Inez, the one that faced the mountains, with a comfortable queen bed and an attached bathroom. This is perfect, Inez said, settling her overnight bag on the bed and pouncing on the mattress. Seriously, Max, this house is amazing. Have you ever thought about turning it into a bed and breakfast? You would make a killing. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how to live here without going crazy, Inez, Maggie said with a weak smile. Inez's expression turned serious. We're going to figure this out, I promise. She unzipped her bag. We're going to raise hell. Give me like 10 minutes to change and I'll meet you downstairs, okay? Take your time. Maggie headed back downstairs with Dune, giving him fresh food and water while she waited. She could hear Inez moving around upstairs and the sound of the bathroom door closing. She busied herself in the kitchen, making tea, trying not to think about the patrol cars, the missing child, the voices that called to her in the night. Kenna, help us, Kenna. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Inez? Maggie called up the stairs. You okay up there? No response. A prickle of unease ran down Maggie's spine. She climbed the stairs, Dune following, and found Inez's room empty. The bag was open on the bed, her suit jacket draped over a chair, but Inez wasn't there. Nez? In here! The voice came from downstairs, from the back of the house, toward the apocryphy room. Maggie's stomach dropped. She knew exactly where Inez was. She walked down the hallway and found her best friend standing in the doorway of the apocryphy room, staring inside with an expression that was part wonder, part wariness. The room was small, tucked away at the back of the house. Maggie loved it. Shelves lined the walls from floor to ceiling, packed with glass jars of every size. Dried herbs hung from the ceiling, lavender, sage, rosemary, and dozens of others that Maggie still didn't recognize. A large wooden table dominated the center of the room, its surface scarred and stained from years of use. Mortars and pedestals of various sizes sat on one shelf. Strange bottles filled with liquids in shades of amber and green and deep purple lined another. Bundles of roots, dried flowers, and small bones. This place feels so sacred, Inez said. Look at all these books. Leather-bound journals stacked a corner of the table, their pages yellowed with age. Alien's handwriting filling every page. The room smelled of earth and herbs and something older, something that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. What is this place? Inez asked quietly, not taking her eyes off the shelves. It was Aileen's apocryphy room, Maggie said, coming to stand beside her. She made her remedies, potions, whatever you want to call them. Inez stepped inside slowly as if entering sacred ground. Her fingers traced along one of the shelves, not quite touching the jars. This is real, Mags. What do you mean? Look at my arms. Look at my goosebumps. This, Inez gestured around the room, this is real witchcraft. Real practice. Oh. Not some tourist shop selling crystals and sage bundles. This is ancient. She picked up one of the leather journals, opened it carefully. Her eyes scanned the pages. Recipes written in precise handwriting, measurements, moon phases, warnings. God, this is generations of knowledge. Can you feel it? She looked at Maggie, and there was something in her expression that Maggie had never seen before. Not fear exactly, but respect, recognition. Preacher has a room like this, not this big, and this would still be considered small in some circles, but it's very similar to what Preacher has. I've seen it. She does? Oh yeah. Preacher makes things, does things, remedies, protections, charms. They don't call it witchcraft in the Gula, but it is called the old ways. My grandmother has that knowledge. It's the same thing, basically. It's just a different name. Inez set the journal down carefully. I grew up watching her work, watching her know things she shouldn't know, feel things and see things. Same things that I have been feeling. How much of it do you have? Enough. I knew when you were going to unalive yourself. I got a piece of it from her. I sense things. I feel when something's wrong, and I can tell you now, something's wrong. I know when someone's lying or in danger. I feel like you're in danger, Max. She paused and shivered. Enough to know that you're indeed, Max. Whatever is happening to you, it's centered here. It's centered in this area. It's centered. She looked out the window. It's centered out there. She pointed toward the Black Pass. It's real. It's dangerous. Maggie felt tears prick her eyes. To have someone finally understand, to finally believe. The medallion. Inez said, nodding toward Maggie's chest. It's glowing now. That was Aileen, she said. Yeah, I found it in her things. Can I see it? Maggie hesitated because of Chloe's warning all those days ago. But this was her friend. If she couldn't trust Inez, then who could she trust? She pulled the chain from beneath her shirt, and the medallion caught the fading light. An amber stone set in silver, glowing slightly yellow, with symbols etched around the edge, strange old symbols that seemed to shift when you looked at them too long. Inez grabbed her cell phone out of her back pocket of her jeans that she had changed into. She didn't touch it. I don't touch other people's stones. Preacher said that's wrong. It can take your power. But she leaned closer, studying it. Man, it's active, she said quietly. I can feel it from here. It's connected to you now. Can I take a picture of it? I just want to look at the engravings. Yeah, sure. Inez took a snapshot of the medallion, and the medallion flashed to a bright white. It glows almost consistently now, Maggie admitted. Gets hot. Usually when something's happening, like right now, it's so hot it's about to burn my skin. When I'm scared, or when the darkness is close. Inez's voice was deeper now. Maggie nodded. Inez looked around the apocryphy room one more time, taking it all in. The herbs, the bones, the journals full of Aileen's knowledge, and then she looked at Maggie. I want to take one of these journals. I'm just going to look at it while we're in the living room, deciding on what to eat. Maggie, your birth mother was a witch. I know you've already told me but I'm telling you, I'm stating absolute fact. She was a witch, a real one. Just looking at the etchings on the medallion, I'm thinking European. I know someone that I can call down in the Low Country that knows all about this stuff, and he should be able to give me some answers. Maggie, I think you're one too, or becoming one. I don't fully know. I mean, I know Chloe, the woman that you told me about, she says there's a darkness in you, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of feeling it too, and I'm telling you now that you have to fight it, that you have to choose. Choose what? Maggie asked desperately. Light or dark? Maggie pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the medallion's warmth. But I don't know what to choose, Nez. I don't even understand what I am. I mean, you're telling me that I'm a witch now. Chloe's telling me. Inez was quiet for a long time. Then she stepped forward and took Maggie's hands in hers. Then we figure it out, she said firmly. We read these journals, we learn what Aileen knew, we talk to Chloe and anyone else who can help, and we figure out what you're becoming and how to control it. What if somehow you're linked to the children disappearing? Mags, don't say that. How many children have came up missing since you've been here? 2. Okay, what if I am a witch? And what if I want to be good, but something dark is taking over me? What if I can't control it? Then I'll be here to help you. Inez squeezed her hands. That's what Preacher always taught me. Power isn't good or bad on its own. It's what you do with it that matters. And I know you, Maggie Drake. I've known you for years. I know your heart. And whatever power is waking up inside of you, you'll use it for good. What if it is good? I don't know, Maggie. I saw you at the courtroom when you said that you were going to kill James. Your eyes weren't green anymore. I don't know if I'm that strong to fight it. You are. Inez pulled her into a hug. You're the strongest person I know. You survived an attack that should have killed you. You survived James. You're fighting for your daughter. And now you're going to figure out how to save those missing children. Maggie hugged her back, drawing strength from her best friend's certainty. When they pulled apart, Inez looked around the apocryphy room one more time, then back at Maggie with a small smile. You know what? I changed my mind about dinner. Let's order pizza or something and stay in tonight. It's rainy, it's cold. You and I need to start going through these journals. We need to find out what's going on. She picked up one of the leather-bound books. If we're going to figure out what's taking those children, we need to know what your birth mother knew. And I have a feeling it's all in here. Maggie felt a surge of gratitude so strong it almost overwhelmed her. Thank you, Ness, for believing in me, for not thinking I'm crazy. Girl, we both come from the lines of women who see things, feel things, know things. Crazy is relative. Inez grinned. Now come on, let's order that pizza, crack open these journals, and figure out what the hell is going on in the Black Pass. As they headed back down the hallway to the front room, Dune padding along beside them, Maggie felt something shift inside her. She wasn't alone anymore. She had Inez, she had Dune, she had Graham, in whatever complicated way that relationship was evolving, and she had Aileen's knowledge waiting in these journals. Maybe, just maybe, she had a chance to stop the darkness, to save the children, to become whatever she was meant to be. Outside, the sun set behind the Black Pass and thunder rumbled in the distance. But inside Cherry Hill House, with her best friend at her side, Maggie felt hope kindle for the first time in months. Real hope. And that was something worth fighting for. They ordered the pizza. And while they were sitting there waiting and flipping through journals, Maggie's phone buzzed on the countertop. Her body reacted immediately in a way that she couldn't explain. Before she even looked at the phone, she knew who it was. A flush of heat, her pulse quickening, that visceral response she couldn't control whenever she thought about Graham Sinclair. She looked. It was a text. How did it go today? Just seeing his name on her screen made her stomach flip. She could picture him, those blue-green eyes, that devastating accent, the way he'd looked at her yesterday at the Black Veil. That was me claiming you. She typed back quickly. It went okay. I got every other weekend and a review in 6 months. Small victory. The response was immediate. That's more than small. That's a path back to your daughter. Proud of you, lass. Maggie felt warmth bloom in her chest. She started typing another message when her phone buzzed again. From Graham. Are you home? Maggie. Yes, just got back about an hour ago. Graham. Good. I was thinking about coming by. Her heart jumped. The thought of seeing him, of those strong hands on her, of that mouth. But then she remembered Inez upstairs, currently digging through her overnight bag for a pen. She typed back. I have a friend staying over for a couple of days. She hit send and waited. No response. A minute passed, then 2, Maggie stared at her phone, feeling oddly deflated. Was he upset? Disappointed? Then her phone buzzed. Graham, have fun. The words were clipped, short, not at all like his usual messages. Before she could respond, another text came through from Graham. A woman, right? Maggie couldn't help it. She laughed out loud. The possessiveness, the barely concealed jealousy, the need to know. It was so obvious, so completely him. Inez entered the room. What's so funny? Looking up from her phone with a knowing smile, already forming her lips. Wait, let me guess. That's him, isn't it? The Scottish attorney, the hottie. Maggie's blush gave her away immediately. Oh my God, it is! He's checking up on you! Inez was grinning now and delighted. What'd he say? Come on, show me. He wants to know if my friend is a woman, Maggie admitted, still smiling. Oh, he's jealous. Inez clapped her hands together. I love it! A possessive Scottish attorney who carries you to bathrooms and claims you. Girl, you better lock that down. Inez, what? I'm just saying. That man is clearly gone for you. And from the way that you're blushing right now, you're gone for him too. She leaned against the counter. So are you going to answer him or let him sweat? Maggie looked at her phone, then typed. Maggie, yes, a woman. A best friend from college. Inez. She's a corporate attorney from Charleston. The response came almost instantly from Graham. Good. Then another message. Graham, text me if you need anything. I mean it. And finally, thinking about you tonight. Always. Maggie stared at that last message, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. What did he say? Inez asked, trying to peek at the screen. Maggie showed her, and Inez's expression softened. Oh, honey, that man is absolutely smitten with you. I know, but I don't know what I'm doing with him, Maggie admitted quietly. Everything's so complicated right now. The custody case, whatever's happening to me, the missing children. Yeah, but you know, sometimes the best things come at the most complicated times, Inez said. And from what I'm seeing, Graham Sinclair might be one of the best things that's happened to you in a long while. She paused. Does he know about what's happening to you? Yeah, Maggie nodded. I told him yesterday in the car about the medallion, the voices, the black past calling to me, all of it. Inez's eyebrows shot up, and he just listened. Didn't tell me I was crazy, didn't run, just listened. Maggie's voice was soft. And it seems like he still wants me anyway. That's a good man, Mags. I'm jealous. I have all these corporate attorneys swarming around me, but they're all so shallow. I want a real man. Does Graham have a brother? I don't know. Maggie looked at her phone again at Graham's messages and then thought about what she'd seen driving into Cherry Hill that afternoon. The sirens blazing. The patrol cars speeding toward the Black Pass. The people standing on the sidewalks, their faces stricken with grief and fear. She typed. Another child gone missing? Question mark. The response came quickly from Graham. Yes. Her heart sank. She typed back, her hands trembling slightly. Who? This time there was a pause. She could see the 3 dots indicating he was typing, then stopping, then typing again. Finally. I don't know all the details yet. Lives a couple miles outside of town. All I know is it's the Henderson family. Maggie's eyes filled with tears. Another child taken. Another family destroyed. What is it, Maggie? Inez's voice cut through the fog. She had set down her phone and was watching Maggie with concern. Maggie looked up at her, blinking back tears. The Hendersons. Her voice cracked. It's scary, Inez. Why are they being taken, and what's taking them? Inez came around the counter and pulled Maggie into a hug. I don't know, she said, quite fiercely. But it's time we find out. Right? Maggie nodded against her shoulder, then pulled back, wiping her eyes. Yeah, it's time. She set her phone down and looked at Inez with red rimmed but determined eyes. So, I found something interesting here in one of these journals. It was a map. It's got Black Pass written across the front of it, and then there's an X where I believe Cherry Hill House might be. There's some link there, Maggie. Some link. Let me get about 3 pieces of pizza in me and I'll get more, but these journals, we need to read them now before another child disappears. What are you saying? Look, Inez pulled out this map. It was old and yellow and crackly as they touched it. She spread it out on the table. So look, it's a map. It's got Cherry Hill here, X spot here. That's got to be Cherry Hill House. And then it says Black Pass. Look, here's Black Veil. So something's here. Something to do with this map. Okay. Let's find out what your birth mother knew. Here, you take these 3, and I'll take these others. Let's read them. When the pizza arrived, half pepperoni and half veggie, they were diving into the journals and stuffing pizza in their mouths and trying to figure out what Aileen McLeod knew about the darkness in this town. And then from Graham came another text. Sweet dreams, Mo Creed. I'm here. No pressure. Just, I'm here. Maggie stared at the message for a long moment. Oh, Creed, my heart. She tucked her phone away and helped Inez gather more journals from the apocryphy room. Tomorrow she'd figure out what to do about Graham St. Clair and the connection growing between them, but right now, in this moment, she had her best friend, pizza, and the first real hope she'd felt in months. It would have to be enough. Maggie opened her first journal carefully. The leather was worn, smooth from years of handling, and Aileen's handwriting filled every page, neat, precise, methodical. She was hoping, praying, to find something about the missing children. The map had been tucked back into the journal and marked. Some clue, some explanation, anything that would help her understand what was taking them. But page after page, it was the same thing. Spells, potions, remedies. For restful sleep, chamomile, lavender, valerian root. Sleep under full moon, give to Margaret Thorne. Insomnia, 3 weeks. For morning sickness, ginger root, peppermint, honey. Boil gently. For Sarah Collins, second trimester, persistent nausea. For joint pain, William Bark, turmeric, comfrey, apply as a poultice. John Matthews, arthritis in hands. Names written beside each recipe, people Aileen had helped, ailments she treated, a catalog of her work as a healer, but nothing, absolutely nothing about the children. She was going frustrated. Maggie flipped through another journal, then another, her frustration mounting with each page. Protection spells, love charms, remedies for fever, for wounds, for heartache, all of it practical, helpful, carefully documented, but not a single word about the darkness in the Black Pass. Not a single mention of children. There's nothing here, she said finally, her voice tight with disappointment. She pushed the journal away. I was really hoping Aileen knew something about it, but there's nothing. Inez had been working through her own stack of journals, reading methodically while snacking on pizza. She closed the one she'd been reading and reached for another. Maybe it's in one of the latter ones. But an hour later, they'd gone through every journal. Inez sat down the last one and shook her head. There's nothing here either. I mean, it's fascinating. Your mother was an incredibly skilled witch, but nothing about the missing children, not even one word. Maggie picked up the map, unfolded it, and looked at it again. Then why is this here? Maggie stared at the pile of journals on the table, feeling defeat settle over her. I don't know what to say. I was so sure that there would be something, some answers, but it's just... She gestured helplessly at the leather-bound books. Recipes and names and remedies. This doesn't help us. This doesn't help us find a child. They sat in frustrated silence for a moment. Inez reaching for another slice of pizza. Then Maggie grabbed her phone. It dawned on her that maybe Chloe would know something. She had to try. Maggie. Hey, just got back in town. I understand that another child is missing. She waited, watching the screen. A few minutes passed before Chloe responded. Chloe. Yes. It was Mason Stafford. His family lives outside the Black Pass, 7 years old. It's just terrible. Maggie's heart sank. 7 years old. Just a little boy. Chloe. But I told you that it was getting ready to happen. I told you that night at the circle. I also told you that sometimes it doesn't matter if we pray or not, if we gather in a circle or not. I told you it was getting ready to happen. We only hope that our prayers work. Maggie's fingers tightened on her phone. Chloe had warned her, had said the darkness was active, that it would happen again soon. She responded back, yeah, you did. There was a pause, then another message came through. Actually, it's a coincidence that you reached out to me because I was going to call you in the morning anyway. Remember when I told you that the night of the circle that I had someone I thought might be able to train you, to teach you in the ways of your gift? Maggie's pulse quickened. Chloe, he's actually going to be in town tomorrow. I'm having dinner with him. Do you think you would be able to join us at 7:30? Maggie stared at the message, her expression going blank. What is it? Inez asked, mid-bite of her pizza crust. Maggie looked up. It's one of the ladies in town. Chloe, the one I told you about. She's inviting me to dinner tomorrow night at 7:30. There's some man who's going to be joining us. She paused. Chloe seems to be of the impression that whatever is in me is dark and that I need to be trained in it. This man, apparently she thinks he can help me. Inez finished chewing, considering. Well, go. I think you need to go and hear what he has to say and just leave you behind. That's rude with you being my guest. Inez waved her hand dismissively. Go. I'll be fine. I'll take care of Dune. We'll be great. She grinned. Besides, I can use the time to go through these journals more carefully, and I'm going to look at that map again. Maybe I'll find something that you missed. Inez, Maggie, this is why I'm here, to help you figure this out. Inez's expression turned serious. If this man can train you, can help you understand what's happening to you, then you need to meet him. It was a boy? Maggie looked at Inez. How did you know that? I don't know. I think my senses are more powerful here, more in tuned. And frankly, that little boy doesn't have time for you to be polite about dinner invitations. The name hit Maggie like a punch. Mason Stafford, 7 years old, missing. She looked down at her phone and typed, I'll be there. Where should I meet you? The response came quickly. I'll text you the address. Come at 7:30. And Maggie, be open-minded about what he has to tell you. He knows things that will help you understand what you're becoming. Another message with an address and directions followed. A house on the outskirts of Cherry Hill. Thank you, Chloe. I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30. She set her phone down and looked at Inez, who was already reaching for another journal. You're sure you're okay with this, with me being gone? Positive. Inez opened the journal and started reading. I tell you what, I'm going to stay up and read a little bit more. Why don't you go get you some sleep? It's been a long day. You're going to need to be sharp tomorrow if you're meeting with some mysterious man who's supposed to train you in witchcraft. Despite everything, Maggie felt a small smile tug at her lips. When you put it like that, it sounds ridiculous. Oh, it is ridiculous, but it's also your life now. Inez looked up at her and her expression softened. Mags, I'm here for all of it. The ridiculous, the terrifying, and everything in between. Maggie walked over and hugged her best friend tight. Thank you for being here, for believing in me. Always, girl. Always. They cleaned up the pizza and put the journals away carefully. As they headed upstairs, Maggie felt the weight of sorrow and the weight of tomorrow settling on her shoulders. She would meet this man, this person Chloe thought could help her. And maybe, just maybe, he'd have answers about Mason Stafford and all the other children who disappeared into the darkness. At her bedroom door, Maggie paused. Nez? Inez turned from her own doorway, her hands full of journals. Yeah? What if I can't do this? What if whatever gift I'm supposed to have isn't enough? What if I am turning dark? Inez walked back to her and put both hands on Maggie's shoulders. Then we figure it out. Plan B, together. But you won't know until you try. So go to this dinner, meet this guy, learn what you can, and then we decide what happens next. Maggie nodded, drawing strength from her friend's certainty. They went to their separate rooms, and Maggie changed into pajamas and climbed into bed. The thunder rumbled. Dune immediately jumped up beside her, curling against her side with his warm, comforting weight. She lay there in the darkness, listening to the thunder rumble over the Black Pass, continuous, never-ending, and thought about Mason Stafford, 7 years old, gone. And tomorrow she'd meet someone who supposedly could help her stop it. Maybe from happening again. She just hoped it wasn't too late. For Mason, for Olivia, for Valerie, for all of them. The medallion lay warm against her chest, and as she drifted towards sleep, she could hear them faint but present. The children's voices calling to her from the darkness. Kenna, help us, Kenna, please. I'm trying. she whispered. I'm trying. The little boy had hair like spun cotton, so blonde it was almost white in the afternoon sun. He wandered through the trees at the back of his parents' property, holding a stick in his hands like it was a mighty staff. 7 years old and lost in his imagination, hiding behind tree trunks, battling invisible dragons. I am the wizard of the forest, he proclaimed to no one, brandishing his stick staff. Mason. His name came to Maggie like a whisper on the wind. She could see everything with perfect clarity. The house behind him, pretty and well kept, with white sheets hanging on the clothesline, billowing gently in the breeze. A red bike thrown carelessly to the side in the front yard. Toys scattered on the porch. The perfect picture of Americana, of normal childhood, of safety. But Mason had wandered too far, past the yard, past the garden, past his mother's instructions, into the trees where the shadows grew longer. Then the wind came, a terrible rush of it, unnatural, violent, tearing through the trees like a living thing. The white sheets on the clothesline whipped and snapped. Leaves exploded into the air. Mason dropped his stick staff. His cotton blonde hair flew around his face. He opened his mouth to scream, but he was too far from the house, too far for his mother to hear. The wind swallowed his cry, and then he was gone. Just gone. The stick lay on the ground abandoned. The trees swayed. The white sheets continued to dance on the line, and his mother was asleep on the couch. Mason Stafford had vanished. The dream shifted, twisted, becoming something else entirely. Darkness, complete and absolute. Maggie was in that place again, that nowhere place that felt both familiar and terrifying. Someone was with her. She couldn't see him, but she could feel him. Hands on her face, rough and gentle at once, a thumb stroking her cheek. Lips finding hers in the darkness. Hot, demanding, claiming. The voice breathed against her mouth. She tried to pull away, but she couldn't move, couldn't escape. His hands were everywhere, in her hair, on her shoulders, moving to the buttons of her blouse. 1 button, 2, 3. The fabric parted, and then he was pressing into her, his body solid and real and overwhelming, even though she couldn't see his face. She could feel every inch of him, the heat of his skin, the weight of him, the way he surrounded her and consumed her. She tried to say no, but no sound came out. He kissed her again, deeper, and his hands roamed over her bare skin. Then he was lifting her, strong arms scooping her up, carrying her through the darkness. Kenna, he whispered. My Kenna. And despite the terror, despite wanting to fight, her body responded, arched into him, wanted him, which terrified her more than anything. Then the scene shifted again, violent and disorienting. Suddenly, she was standing on a mountainside, wind tearing at her hair, whipping it across her face. She wore a black dress, long and old-fashioned but torn. Holes gaped in the fabric. Rips ran down the skirt. The hem was shredded, as if she'd been running through thorns. The black paths rose around her, dark and ancient and hungry and angry. And ahead of her, the precipice, that terrible drop into nothing. She stood at the very edge, her toes at the rim, rocks crumbling beneath her feet and tumbling into the void below. Thunder crashed overhead, lightning split the sky. Choose. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once, deep, commanding, and ancient. Choose, Maggie. Choose. The wind howled, threatening to push her over the edge. Are you Maggie? A pause. Thunder rolled. Or are you Kenna? I don't understand, she screamed into the wind. Choose. The ground beneath her feet crumbled, and she fell. Maggie jerked awake with a scream tearing from her throat. Strong hands grabbed her shoulders, shaking her. Wake up, honey! Wake up! Inez's voice, urgent and frightened. Wake up! It's just a nightmare. That's all it is. It's just a nightmare. Maggie's eyes flew open, wild and unfocused. She was gasping for breath, her nightshirt soaked with sweat, her hair plastered to her face. I'm here, Inez said, her face coming into focus in the dim light from the hallway. I've got you, boo. I've got you. Maggie grabbed onto Inez like a lifeline, her whole body shaking. The images were still so vivid. Mason's cotton blonde hair, the terrible wind, those hands in the darkness, the torn black dress, the precipice. Breathe, Inez commanded, rubbing her back. Just breathe, Mags. You're safe. You're here. It was just a dream. But it wasn't just a dream. Maggie knew that. It was more. It was always more. I saw him. Saw who? Mason. He was taken near the woods. On his property. He didn't even have a chance. It just came and just swooped him up. She tried to steady her breathing, tried to calm her racing heart. Doom was pressed against her other side, meowing plaintively, his orange eyes wide with concern. It's just a dream. That's all it is. That's it. It's not a dream. It's a nightmare. It's real. And sometimes I'm so tired of this, Inez. I'm so tired. I need answers. I need to understand what's happening to me. I need to understand why I'm having the visions of these children. Inez was quiet for a moment, then she stood and went to turn on the bedside lamp. Soft light filled the room, pushing back the shadows. She sat back down on the bed, facing Maggie. Tell me about the nightmare. What did you see? Maggie took a shaky breath. Mason, the little boy who went missing, I saw him. He was playing in the woods behind his house. There were white sheets on the clothesline, a bike in the yard. He had this blonde hair like cotton. He was pretending a stick was his staff, and then her voice broke. And then the wind came, just like it did with Valerie and with Olivia, this terrible wind. And he tried to scream, but he was too far away and his mother couldn't hear him, and then he was just gone. Inez's expression was grim. You saw his abduction? Yes. And then the dream changed. I was in this dark place with someone. I couldn't see him, but I could feel him, and he was touching me, kissing me, calling me Kenna, and I couldn't get away from him even though I wanted to. I'm having this dream every night now. And then she couldn't say the rest, couldn't describe how his body had responded. And her body had responded to his, despite her fear. And then, now I'm on a mountain in a black dress. It's an old gown. Looks like it's old-fashioned, and it was all torn up, and I was standing at the edge of this cliff, and this voice kept saying, choose. But the only thing that was different this time was it asked me if I was Maggie or are you Kenna. She looked at Inez with desperate eyes. What does that mean? Why do I keep having these dreams? What's happening to me, Inez? Inez took her hands, squeezing them tight. I think that tomorrow night's dinner just became even more important. This man that Chloe wants you to meet, he may have answers. Whatever is happening in Cherry Hill, what's happening with you, whatever is happening in the Black Pass, it's escalating. I'm scared, Nez. I know. But you're not alone. I'm right here and I'm not going anywhere. Do you think you can sleep anymore tonight? I mean, I know it's 3:47 a.m. Maggie shook her head. I'm afraid to close my eyes. Good. Because I found something you're going to want to see. Come on. Let's go downstairs. What did you find? Well, I came back downstairs. You know that cabinet that is up at the very top of the ceiling? It looks like, you know, just some, maybe just like a facing of a cabinet. Well, I started searching up there and it's a panel. I opened it and, well, I found something that you're going to want to see. I'll make us some tea. Maggie took her hand and let Inez pull her up. Dune jumped down and patted after them as they headed downstairs. In the kitchen, Inez put the kettle on while Maggie sat in the table, wrapped in a blanket, still shaking slightly. The medallion lay warm against her chest, not burning like before, but present, always present. I'll be right back. Inez was gone for just a couple minutes. But when she returned, there was a basket. And in the basket were letters. Many letters. Inez walked over to the kitchen table. Here you go. What are these? Letters. Letters that your mom wrote, Aileen, and some from someone else. I didn't want to read them. I didn't want to spy. But I'm here while you read them. Maggie picked up the first letter. It felt fragile in her hands. On the front of it was just a simple word. Aileen. She opened it, and there was a letter inside. At the top of the page was a name. Marcus. Maggie began to read the contents of the letter. It was from a lover, Marcus. Maggie looked at Inez. And that is tonight's reading of Cherry Hill. Stay tuned for next Monday night, my darklings, for the remaining story. It's getting deep. It's getting real. what is contained in those letters. What is waiting in those letters, I wonder? You'll have to wait and see. My stories burrow deep where they cannot flee. And in the darkest corridors of your nightmares, you belong. To me. Pleasant dreams. Good night.